Yeah, let's start. Sekinot has left, but hopefully she'll be able to join us back.
Probably she's using her phone and she gets a call or something like that.
Ah, so it's yeah, and then it
That should
disconnects.
be the main reason.
Okay, all right. So yeah, she's back.
Just trying to call some other people.
Sorry, I went online for.
Yeah, it's okay. We have someone who is going by the name MacBook.
I think that should be Mr. Obajimi, right? Hello.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's start because yeah, we've used almost 20 minutes, and since we have 4 people in the house, I think it's already okay to start. All right. So, hello everyone. This is I actually call this section info section.
Sorry, excuse me, please.
Yeah.
Can we all mute our calls except for Shijosh so that we can hear him clearly?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say the same thing so that no other audio like affects your.
Okay. All right.
So any noise in the background.
Okay. All right. So okay, guys. Thanks for all that. Okay. So I call this info section because what I've observed over time is that it's always good to start the process with an info session. Previously, I just dive straight into web programming, and what I often found out is that at some point the interest is lost, and there are several reasons for that. Web programming, you often don't get the results on time. It may take, I mean, web programming actually is the one you get the result the fastest. The others take a long time, especially if you considering like artificial intelligence, machine learning. Those actually take a longer time. So there are a couple of questions that people often ask. So I'm going to address some of the questions. And with that, you can already have an idea of what to learn when it comes to web programming. Okay, so one of the basic questions that people ask is, what language? So I'm going to just call it what programming language. So what programming language is one of the recurrent questions that people ask. All right. So if you're doing web programming, if you decide to settle for web programming, there are languages of the web. Okay. One of the languages of the web is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these are the 3 languages of the web. When you're talking about the web, these are the 3 languages that you're going to learn: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, if you don't want to focus on the web, say for instance, you want to focus on machine learning and artificial intelligence, then you will be looking at languages like Python and Ruby. And sometimes you have other languages like Java. Those other languages do perfectly well machine learning. Languages like Java. Oftentimes, most languages, especially if they are scripting languages, they can handle machine learning and artificial intelligence. So if you want to start out, you are like me, no background in computer science, 0 background, all right? biggest question, what language should I learn? Okay, what I have observed is that those who start with Python, because Python is one of the most popular language and it is easy to learn. Those who start out with Python often end up, at some point like, I'm not seeing the results. It's taking a long time. Why is it difficult? Why can't I just, grasp it in the first instance? All right. So one of the reasons is because these languages are designed to handle different tasks. So one thing about programming languages is that they are all just tools, okay? They are tools that helps you to perform certain tasks. So what languages? If you are going for the web development, then you're looking at this language. If you're going for machine learning, then you're looking at this languages, okay? Now, that handles the languages. This is not to say there are no other languages. We have Java, we have C++, we have C#. Those other languages are also very popular, but they are designed for certain environments. So you have C++ or C# or Java used to develop applications like Zoom, the Zoom we're using to chat. I'm not sure which language is used to design Zoom, but yeah, you can use those kind of languages. Java is one of them. You can actually use Python to develop desktop application. You can also use JavaScript to develop desktop applications. But what is more important is that some languages are much more powerful or much more suited for certain environment. The web, this is the language for the web. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you're talking about machine learning, if this is your focus, this is what you want to do, machine learning, data analysis, then you're looking at these languages, Ruby and Python. Okay, so this handles which language should I learn? All right, what is more important is not the language, but which environment do you want to function in? Okay, so let me see. Only instructors. Okay, Olori said no audio. Olori, there is actually audio. I'm not sure why you're not getting the audio. There is actually audio. Adeomi, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Olori, maybe try disconnect and reconnect. Then you probably can get audio. All right. Okay. So this is like the core, the fundamentals. All right. So
Sorry, excuse me,
yeah.
please. One more time. Can we please mute our phone or
Yes.
MacBook or something so that we can hear the instructor alone? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So these are the core fundamentals. So because programming is just a tool, computer programming languages are just a tool. So you just cannot jump into the most famous, most popular language. If you do that, you end up finding yourself in a situation whereby you're not seeing immediate results. If you're lucky, you started with the web, you will immediately see results because the web is one of the fastest places to start and then see instant results. But if you're starting out with Python or Ruby, then it's going to take a long time to see results. All right. Now, one thing that has happened in recent years, okay, is the advent of front-end versus back-end if you're starting in the web. All right. If you're starting in the web, then you begin to hear things like front end, like back end. This is another question that people ask. Which one should I go for? Should I go for front end or should I go for back end? Now, depending on which one you want, okay, it's often that people who don't have background in programming, like myself, will start with the front end, okay? So I started with the front end and then I ended up in the back end, and I started to go into mobile development and also go into desktop development. Now, why is that possible? It is possible because of the language I chose, okay? There are so many other languages that work perfectly in the web, all right? There's PHP, works perfectly in the web for backend. So when you begin to go for front end, then you begin to look at languages like these same languages. They work perfectly in the front end, all right? And when you begin to go for backend, then this is where you begin to see certain languages begin to die out when they get into certain environments. So JavaScript will survive in the backend. Someone is sending a message. Okay, all right. So JavaScript will work in the backend. Then you begin to see other languages in the backend. In fact, even all of these ones, they work perfectly in the backend. So this is the irony of programming, of computer programming. So you learn one language and you begin to find yourself working with that language in every other environment, desktop software development. So there are certain common pattern that you observe. Okay, PHP will not work for that. So I hope you guys are seeing a common pattern. You look at front end, you see HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You look at back end, you see JavaScript, you see PHP, Python, Ruby. In fact, every other language, Java, they all work. C++, C#, all of them, they all work in backend. Why? Why are these languages working in the backend? They are working in the backend because when you talk about backend, you're talking about a computer. A computer, that's the backend. That's why they work in the backend. Okay, desktop publishing, every other languages except PHP work for desktop publishing. Not desktop publishing, but desktop software development. So these are the common questions. Okay, you start with what language, and then you get to this question. Okay, this is actually the question here, this one. Front end or back end? All right, so front end or back end, then the question is, you decide. Depending on how far you want to go, then you will choose. All right, now, if you look at my background, here I have a software tool. And if you check, you will see that this is a software development tool for front-end developers.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah?
We're not seeing your screen.
You say what?
Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
But we can't see that. We can only see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mr. Kinos, can you see my screen?
Yeah, you just have to scroll to the left,
Yes,
then you
we
see
can
the
see.
screen. You have to scroll to the left of the page.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, all right. So this is a software development tool, all right? And as a developer, you can actually be a designer. and just focus on software design, and you will get your good pay, right? If you look at this too, I can still see code. Like if I select any, you can still see the code, like this one. This is the code, and I don't need to write the code. Just by designing, it gives me the code, right? So there are so many tools out there today, like so many of them. This is another one. This is even in the web, directly in the web, and I don't have to write code. All I just do is select any of all of this, and at the end of the day, it gives me the code. You see, this is HTML, this is CSS, and this is JavaScript, the languages of the web. Zero code. All I just need to do is do the design. The software generates the code for me. There are so many tools out there that are designed to make software development possible today. That's the question you often ask yourself when you ask, when do I start coding? The question is not when. The question is, why haven't you started coding? Right? As you can see, these are all design, and you can do a lot. Okay, so that for front end, if you don't even want to practically code, you can focus on design. So what you end up becoming is UX, UI designer for front end without touching any code, because you have a strong sense of design. And design is very, very broad. It's yeah.
Sorry to cut you short. By UI, you mean user interface?
User interface, user experience. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the possibilities are just endless. If you have a solid sense of design, in fact, they will search for you anywhere you are. Anywhere you are. Because design itself is a huge industry. Most programmers don't know how to design. They can only write code. So you, as a developer, as a designer who have a strong sense of design, they will find you. They will find you. So all of this you're seeing here now, they are just design, pure designs. See, mobile view. This is mobile view. This is desktop view. And all you just need to do is just design. After finishing your design, you send it to the developer, and the developer writes the code, right? So that is that. So one common theme that is observed is that people start, all right, when they start, they get discouraged, because in programming, you can't immediately see results. And when you start, you find yourself, doing something that you can't track your progress. All right. So one common question is, how long does it take to learn programming? Okay. So we've addressed the question of what language. Okay. What language is guided by which environment you want to work in. Is it front end, back end? Is it web? Is it machine learning? Is it, in fact, there are more. There is data analysis. There's database analysis or database management. There are some people who go to school to study database management without even touching front end or back end. It's very possible, right? So the next question then is, how long does it take? Okay.
Excuse me, please.
Yes.
Is it possible to learn both front end and back end?
Yes. So if you look at it closely, you will see that the front end has JavaScript, the back end has JavaScript. So
Okay.
that sends a message that
So
if
that's
you
my
learn
second question.
JavaScript, you can actually work in the backend as well.
Okay.
So how long does it take? All right. Based on my experience, HTML will take you something between a day to at most 1 week. This is HTML. It will take you at most a day to 1 week. All right. How about CSS? CSS is where you begin to have like cognitive breakdown. Like, what the hell is this? All right. So CSS will take at least say 3 months to plus or minus say 6 months. Okay. So you will truly understand the fundamentals. Now, look at what is happening here. HTML serves a purpose, basically give you a structure. CSS gives you design, like style. CSS is for styling. But styling doesn't necessarily mean you are a good UX UI designer. So this is another thing. All right. If you're starting with the web, you will learn HTML, which is the language of the web here. In a day, you can finish HTML. CSS, it can take you about at least 3 months to 6 months. And even after 6 months, you are still getting to understand, because they are industry standard. There are best practices. There are CSS gives you lots of rules. It's a rules environment, right? It enforces complying to rules. Now, how about JavaScript? Now, when you see JS, you should understand it means JavaScript. So oftentimes it is called JavaScript or JS. And JavaScript is not Java. No, it's not. It's not. So for JavaScript, how long does it take to learn JavaScript? A lifetime. All right. So it takes a lifetime to learn JavaScript. Now, this may kind of scare you, like, oh, why a lifetime? Seriously. Well, all of the other languages like C, Java, Python, in fact, all scripting languages take a lifetime. Why? There are so many reasons. Like, computers are becoming more sophisticated. We are adding, who talks about machine learning 10 years ago? Nobody. 10, 15 years ago. There's nothing like machine learning. It's nothing like artificial intelligence. If there was, it's maybe like the national security agencies or FBI, CIA that was using artificial intelligence. How about data analysis? Today we have an explosion of data, and we want to analyze the data, right? In the past, there was nothing like that. I mean, how many people were using the internet, right? So this is why it takes a long time, because the languages are evolving. The computers are becoming much more advanced. So it's becoming much more sophisticated, right? You have computers that are a lot faster. You have security issues that are coming into all of these computers. And I mean, if the computer adds more functionality, then it means the programmer must find a way to, expand the language into those environments. For those of us who have probably researched Bitcoin, you would have noticed that sometimes they use the VGA, that is the visual card, to mine Bitcoin. And you'd be like, wait, how can you use a VGA card, which is not meant for that, to actually mine Bitcoin, cryptocurrency? That's because it has a processor, And some people have written a program that allows, you know, you to utilize the processor of the VGA, which is meant for graphics, to process Bitcoin. So these are things that are happening, right? How about your SIM card? Your SIM card has a programming language on it, right? There's Java, Java programming on your SIM card. That's why when you put it on the phone, it works, right? So there are environments that programming is getting into, and it's expanding. When JavaScript started, JavaScript was meant totally, completely for the web, which is for front end. Nowhere else. JavaScript was originally designed for front end, right? But today, JavaScript is on the back end, as you see here. JavaScript is also on the desktop. Okay, when I say desktop, I don't necessarily mean desktop, I mean computer itself, right? Even you find also IoT, Internet of Things. This is another realm that programming is getting into, where you use when you use programming language to control your fridge, control your television, control your light, right? Internet of Things, IoT. Okay, so it takes a lifetime, but in essence, what you have to learn doesn't actually take a lifetime. It can take you about, say, about 6 months to understand the fundamentals of JavaScript. All right, and there are a couple of things that when you know them, then you know the language. Syntax, the fundamentals, the structure, uh, uh, the programming paradigms, and there's so many things like that. Like they have data structures and algorithm, uh, design patterns. So there are so many things like that that the moment you have passed that 6 months period, if you want to take your skills further, then you begin to go into this realm, you know, design pattern, data structures and algorithm, programming paradigm. When you begin to get into this field, plus or minus after 6 months, then you begin to see the jobs will begin to open up for you. If you focus on designing, which is US UI, all right, which is basically just HTML, CSS, and an understanding of the design tools like Figma. This is Figma. This is Figma. There is Webflow, which was the one I showed you earlier. All right. There are so many tools like that. There's Sketch. There's Adobe XD. If you understand these tools and you focus on design, mostly design for front end or mobile, then it can take you about 6 months, all right? After 6 months, and you have a collection of designs that you have worked on, okay, then this begins to open doors for you, all right? If you're designing for the web, you need to understand certain things like the screen size of the web, what device. So these are so many things you will consider. These are the things you have to learn when you begin to get into web programming. All right. So these are the fundamentals. Right. As you can see, this is a website that also has a mobile view. All right. If you're going to be focusing on the web, you have to understand this. Okay. So it takes a lifetime. All right. And if you will be going into, I mean, after JavaScript, any other language takes a lifetime. All right. C# takes a lifetime. Python takes a lifetime because they are all scripting languages. All scripting languages will take a lifetime. Okay. So these are the things you need to understand if you want to get into programming. Okay. You can do it later, you know that, right? Of course. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so Any question at this point?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. So coming back to the UX UI designing,
Okay.
does that mean to be a front-end person, you have to learn designing first?
No.
Before you, no.
No. So okay. So why is it possible for some designer to get a job in the first place? Okay, that's because many programmers don't understand design. So all they just know is, give me the design, I'm going to code it. All right.
Okay.
So it's like when they say, if all you have is a hammer, every problem becomes you see every problem as a nail. That's how it is. So many programmers just, all they know is the code. All right. When it comes to design, they have absolutely no idea. I mean, like, how can you tell a designer that you have to look at the color from a natural perspective? Like,
Okay.
I'll show you one thing. Look at this here. Look at this. Let me find it. This one. I'll show you this one. So look at here. You will see that this started, all of these colors here. This color was generated with this picture, and then look at how it evolved. You see this design, the same picture, a different color, but the color matches perfectly well.
Okay.
Right? So this is being able to look at things and be able to see how you can use the tool at your service to create something that is appealing to the eyes.
Okay, so now coming back to my question, if you happen to be a graphic designer,
Yeah.
which you already have the idea.
Yeah.
So does that mean learning more of the programming language does that mean you have more advantage?
It's so. It's also because okay, in the past, many people started as a designer, all right, because they don't know how to code. They just started as a designer, and they understand this tool. Some are like Photoshop experts. They can design anything. You just tell them, they can design it. So the problem some started having is that they really can't maximize the web. They will design and then they will give to somebody else who will now take the huge pay. Many designers weren't happy about it. So what eventually happened is that the guys who designed these tools then started to put the possibilities of seeing a code. So you design and then you get to see the code. All right. So in a way, it started to expose the designer to programming, right?
Okay.
So with that, designers were able to understand part of programming, which is HTML and CSS. And because of that knowledge, they were able to maximize, design and coding, not because they understand coding, fully, but they have an idea of how to code. So because of this, some of them took it further, and then they became not just a web designer, they became a programmer as well.
Okay. So coming back to that, does that mean being a programmer, if you can code and you can design, so you still need to go back to a designer even after the coding?
It depends. So, okay, so this is how it is. A very typical environment is that a company will have a designer, who they call UX UI designer, who sometimes only have an idea of coding. So if you check online and you check for jobs under UX UI, you will see they will say have an idea of Sketch. They will mention Sketch, Adobe XD, Figma, and then they will say have a knowledge of HTML and CSS, and then sometimes they will mention Webflow, or they will mention the tools. more about the tools than the programming language. All right. If the designer have a knowledge of the language, it becomes an added advantage. So the designer who just knows how to design and a designer who knows how to design and understands HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript will get a job. So this is how it plays out in most companies. And when you start with CSS and JavaScript, it's a lot more difficult. So this is what I have observed, that many will start with CSS. In the past, I've always trained people with CSS and JavaScript. But that creates a problem. The problem it creates is that these guys can write CSS and JavaScript, but then they are confused. Like, Josh, you telling me how to write CSS and JavaScript, but I don't know what is the essence. Okay, you say H1 heading 1 tag, picture, IMG tag, but Josh, what the hell? All right. So the problem that I observed is that it's actually better to introduce people to the basics, HTML and CSS, but don't dwell too much. Just go straight to design, because with design, people can actually become very creative and very active. And when they understand the design, by the time you switch back to the code, at first they can already begin to see the code themselves and use the code while developing. All right. In addition to that, they can come up with ideas of their own, to build a website and put, because it's difficult to just write code when you don't see the result of the code, right? So let me see if I can show you something. Hopefully it doesn't. This is a good example. Look at this, guys. Look at this, guys. Look at this. You see this? What if I tell you this was the beginning and this is the result? You see that? Look at that. From the previous one, which is this, to this. How can you do that? You can only do that if you understand design, right? So when you have a rich understanding of design, then you can take the design and write the code. But if you don't have a rich understanding of design, you will write a code that won't be appealing to anyone. So this is how it has often played out. So the best approach, which I have found, all right, is that an introduction to the fundamentals of the web, which is JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, is very essential. But as soon as the person gets a grasp on these 3 foundational languages for the web, the next thing is to go straight into design, because design can take you in itself, it can take about 2-3 weeks. But as soon as you understand, and it's very easy because you immediately see the results. You immediately see the result. You're painting, you're choosing colors, and you applying these colors. Like if I want to change this now, it's quite, I can say, how can I change this color? Let me look at it. Okay, how about I pick the color of the face? Look at this. You see, it still makes a lot of sense. You still see the result. If I Ctrl Z it, you see the difference. Look at that. Even the brighter colors seem to be much more, potent, much more, it brings out the richness of the design. So, but how can you tell that if you don't understand the fundamentals of design? So this is why it is very essential. So with the design, you can already know which color to put where, how to float the things, okay? Like if I want to modify this now, I can do something like, look at this. Look at these guys. Right? Look at that. If I spread this here and I bring this 3 down, I bring it here, and then I take this one and then I spread it across. This creates another feeling, you see, which is different from the one at the top. You can even, like, you know, spread it around. Look at that. The same picture, the same text, but different design. But how can you see all of this? You can only do that when you understand, you know, design fundamentals. That's when you're able to do all of this. And design can be easily taught compared to what is it called? Compared to, let me even make it even a lot richer than it was previously. Look at that. And this is very easy. Very easy. Design is a lot more easier, right? If you choose design path, in fact, you can get a job quicker with design, all right? Because they know you don't know coding. But if you have a very rich sense of design, I mean, if you as a designer, you can already provide the company with something like this, just being a designer, all right? And you can provide the company with this kind of stuff, you know, from 0 to hero, you as a designer, and you have this as your collection. I'm telling you, companies will find you. Companies will find you. All right. Now, if you put on top of this CSS and JavaScript, boom, CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, then you have a very rich portfolio. Okay. So now the final thing, the final building block is I get discouraged often. How can I stay focused? So this is the final piece of the puzzle. Okay. Starting and getting discouraged along the way. All right. So this is actually the biggest part of it all. You start, along the way you get discouraged. All right. Why is that?
Sorry, Josh.
Yes.
Before you will talk about the last one.
Yeah.
You talk about the environment where one wanted to work and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like me now, of course I can write HTML, I can write CSS,
Mm-hmm.
but then I write Java a bit. But yet the challenge has been, I don't even know what I want to do.
Yes.
You get?
Yes.
I've just been there. I know basic of this thing, but I don't even know what to fix. So maybe it's to be at the back end, maybe it's to be at the front end. And it's one of the challenge, like as I'm talking to you now. So I don't know. The challenge for me is still not clear on what to do, seriously.
Yes. So yeah, that is a very, very valid concern, and it actually falls under this final point.
Okay.
You know, getting discouraged. You know these things, but time to time you know you like you easily find yourself outside of it. All right. So the way that I have been able to deal with this, okay, in the past, in fact, I've been working with a very, very I have like a weekly routine. In fact, I'm looking at it here. On Monday, I do TypeScript and React. On Tuesday, I do Java, CSS. Wednesday, I do TypeScript, React. Thursday, Mongo, CSS. Friday, TypeScript, Node. Saturday, Docker, algorithm, unit testing. Sunday, Java, React. This was how I scheduled it. And then I went into relapse, mental breakdown. Okay, so mental breakdown, and I couldn't do anything. You know, they call it cognitive fog. All right, what did I do? I fell back to design, because for this design is so beautiful that you don't even have to touch the code. You do it like a leisure. Okay, I'll put this color here. Change the color. If I use this lady's color here and I use it to change this button, that would be a really nice design. Let me try. So it's more of a leisure than actually writing a code, right? So when you feel yourself discouraged, first let me address the discouragement. One way to handle discouragement is to have people around you who have similar interests like you. Like this kind of group now. If you guys decide to say, okay, I want to continue with this kind of approach. I think I love design. Okay, I know I will touch code at some point. And I know the code I'm going to touch. So maybe every Saturday, I'm going to look at HTML and CS, but I will focus mostly on the design. Look at, like modern design, mobile design. I know. So I'm just going to focus on this, and I'm going to be building beautiful stuffs, right? In fact, when you create a beautiful design, you put it up on your LinkedIn, companies will already start sensing you. You put up the first one, wow, crazy design. You put up the second one, oh my God. And they know that within their company, none of their developers or designers has been able to produce what you have produced. I'm telling you, they will come for you. They will reach out to you, right? So you surround yourself with people who are within the field. When you're feeling discouraged, you can just reach out to them. Guy, how far? How's your coding going? Then they'll begin to, what you observe is that they will, inspire you. Omo, I discover Figma. If you only training continue, but boy, training. You see, so from there you begin to get inspired. You begin to see different views, and it will look so fresh to you all the time, right? If you're into Java, the conversation will be different. Apparently, oh, have you gone deeply into packages or OOP or stuffs like that? If it is JavaScript, man, do you know instead of using XML HTTP requests, you can actually use fetch? Like, oh, really? Yeah, it's syntactic sugar, very fast. Like, okay, I'll try it. So you surround yourself with like minds. They will inspire you, and they will keep triggering you and guiding you. Like when I started with HTML, I went into CSS. When I got into JavaScript, I became stuck more often because it's a scripting language. It requires logic. I get stuck all the time. But I have this friend of mine. His name is Jide. He lives here in Finland. Time to time, he's going to ask me some questions that, like, I have no idea what this dude is talking about. Josh, have you heard of, object-oriented programming? Like, what? Object-oriented programming? Oh, have you heard of recursive something? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. So in my mind, I am preparing myself for the time that I'm going to know those things. And eventually I get to that point and then I go back to him. Like, man, finally I got to use object-oriented programming. Oh, finally I got to see, ACID protocol. Finally, I got to see MVC, so with that, you stay in the game. Now, how about not knowing exactly what to focus on? One way to have something to focus on, all right, is this. Check the job market. What is the job market requiring? What is the least expected skill that can secure you a job? The least expected skill that can secure you a job, all right? Because when you get a job and you are paid to do that thing, there is no way you won't become a specialist in your field. You get the idea? So that's how it is. So look for the least demand to secure a job. Oftentimes, it is US UI. If you know US UI, chances are you will get into the industry quite fast. If you know CSS, HTML, because usually companies won't employ you to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They won't. They will employ you as a front-end developer, as an entry level, junior developer, entry level. So if you know CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, they won't take you. But if you have a rich portfolio of designs, boom, they will take you. They will then screen you on a very limited HTML or JavaScript knowledge. And if you pass it, you get the job. So these are the things that I can guide you. I can tell you some of, because I've been asked, I can tell you some of the questions they can ask you, all right? When it comes to, oftentimes the questions will be related to JavaScript. If you are a US UI designer, the questions may be related to CSS, but more often than not, they won't ask you CSS. They will look at your portfolio of designs, ask you about maybe core concepts or core fundamentals of design. And if you understand mobile, different devices, how you can integrate your design into different devices, right? So check the job market. The job market will tell you what skill to focus on and which of the job is often, present. Like, is it, how often would you see a senior developer role? Very, very limited. And can you compete for senior developer? No. But if you look at the area of design, front-end development, you will see a lot. I mean, if you check cv.ee, you will see a lot of front-end developer roles, right? Now, the secret is not to focus on code. The secret is to focus on design. Because design, they will see design ASAP, right? If you can showcase your design, your rich understanding of design, you will get a job, right? But on top of that, you need to understand the 3 languages that make up the web. Otherwise, you won't be able to. Now, I chose JavaScript because with JavaScript, so you have to be strategic. With JavaScript, you can already start from the web and go to desktop software development or computer software development. With JavaScript, you can already design a mobile application, right? And with JavaScript, you can also design a backend. So you see, JavaScript alone gives you access to all of this, So yeah, I think someone has a question. Olori finally joined us. So do you, I hope you guys get what I'm saying. And yes, if you also have a question, let me know. So the idea of today is to inspire you to get a general overview of the whole programming ecosystem. All right. Not to talk about code. I have jumped into code so many times, and people feel discouraged because just like Mr. Afolabi asked that, starting something and not getting discouraged along the way. So when I start to talk about HTML and CSS, people get discouraged. They feel like, why am I learning this one? Why am I not learning Python? People say Python is popular, right? Why don't you teach us Python? Okay. So that's because of the misunderstanding of programming in general. Programming itself programming languages are a tool. Man, do you know how many languages are out there? There are more than hundreds. There are hundreds of programming languages out there. So much so that veteran programmers, the fathers of some programming languages are saying that we should spend less time developing new programming languages and spend more time using those languages to work effectively, to solve a problem. There are hundreds of programming languages. So it still boils down to this about looking at the job market. The job market will tell you what to learn, what to focus on, because it changes. Computer changes, different things get into the web, machine learning, cryptocurrency, the banks go to web. Before now, they weren't in the web. E-commerce goes to the web. So you consistently look at the job market and choose the right language. Choosing the right language is a key part in all of this. If you choose Java, can you compete with a student who goes to school for 4 years learning Java and learning Java in the back end and learning Java for enterprise programming? Chances are the answer is no. Unless you can commit 2 years of your life doing absolutely nothing but learning Java, then yes, and getting all the certification, because you have to make up for that guy who has a university degree. So this is why it has become very possible for developers to get into programming through front-end programming. HTML is easy to learn. 1 day to 1 week, you've understood HTML. CSS, about 3 months to 6 months, you've understood CSS. And then, boom, you focus on UX, UI design. Man, that's a recipe to secure a job in the field, especially if you have a rich understanding of design. And it's not hard at all. This is the irony. It's not hard at all to understand design. What is more important is the tool, not even the design, because the design is very common. If you look at it, the design is very, very common. For instance, look at this. Okay, this is one design. Basically, looking at this, all you see is a picture in the background, a text, the links there, 2 buttons. Very simple, but this is a very solid design. See, the same design for another website. So you can imagine, all you just need to do is understand common patterns. And
Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah, I want to ask this UI UX.
yeah.
Is it not? There are some people that are just like gifted in design to look at things how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's everybody that can do that UI UX?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It
Really?
is. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. I'll show you. I'll show you why I said that.
Yeah, because I know one of the challenges I used to have with CSS is which color to use.
It is. Yeah. Yes. So look at this. Does it look like a website? Does it look like a website? Did you notice anything that is like common to websites? This is the same as which one is it? It's the same as
Yeah,
this one.
exactly. Yeah, the team.
Yeah,
And
it's the same, right? The buttons, the logo, the heading, paragraph, and 2 button. Very common pattern, right?
Okay.
And then
So
when
just
you
insert what you want there.
exactly,
Okay.
and when you activate the layout, you will see that everything. Look at this. Look at this. You see, I put both the logo, everything on the same line. This is called alignment. You just align it. And how about this? Look at the buttons. The buttons are floating inside of the columns, right? What is the common pattern here? I'll show you what is the common pattern in web development. Look at this. This is 12 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 columns.
Yeah.
Now, if I do this now, watch. If I spread this now, there is a common pattern. I will use this to illustrate it. I'll use this to illustrate it. Now, what is very common is that anything I'm doing, I am putting it inside of the columns, all right? Because I have 12 columns, I can spread something in all of them. 12, okay?
Wait.
Now,
So that column stands for div and tables?
that the column is your page. It's your web page. That's the column. So the column is your web page, just everything. So what you see in here is actually falling into the columns. So if you understand how to align things, you pretty much understood how the whole thing works. So everything is in columns. So this is 12 columns. If I decide, I can put this can be an entire image. You see that? This is a picture on a particular section of my page, right? A good example of a picture that is taking 6 columns. This picture is taking 6 columns. What picture is taking 6 columns? This picture is taking 6 columns. Look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The remaining 6, the picture is taking it. Why did I choose to put the picture there? Because I want the picture to be a visual hierarchy. I want people to see the picture. And this is a valid design. Valid design. So I spread the screen, I divide the screen into 2, 6 for picture, the other 6 for this test. So what is more important in design is understanding design pattern. So here is my picture. Okay, and then on the other side, so if I take this now and I want to put the picture here, I have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can move this to 6 and then move this as well to 6. And then I have a valid web page. Now, what is important now is grid. How do I float it? This is a valid design. So in the end, it's just understanding, how to split, like basic stuff, right? Now, since everything is 12, look at this. So I can say I want to spread everything on 12, or I can say, look at this. Because it is 12, I can use 2, 4. Look at this. What does this mean? What does this mean? This, look at this one. I can decide to use 4 instead of 2. And all of these are just simple, basic stuff if you look at them. So because it is 12, I can divide 12 by 4. I can divide 12 by 2. I can divide 12 by 6. So this is what is playing out. It's just your understand, and you have to look at it from a very simplistic point of view. What have I done here? If you look at this design that I have here, you see that this is 6 and this is 6, right? This one takes up 12, everything. This button takes up 2. This is actually like 4, but it's floated in the middle. How about this? This is 8. Actually, it's taking up 12. How about this? This is 4 and this is 4. The last 4 will be here, but it's not used. How about this? Look at this. 6 and another 6. How about this? Look at this. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then we space in between. How about this? Look at this. 4, 4, 4. You can divide this into 4, or you can say 2, 2, 4, and 2. So everything, even this one that is 6, it's divided into 6, and this is 2, 2, this is 2, and this is taking 3. This is 3, this is 4 of the 6. So it's just, if you get the right person to show you how you can break all of this down, you begin to see the common patterns. That's the most important thing. The common pattern reveals how to approach it in a very technical way. You don't have to be so super inspired. How about choosing colors? How do you choose colors? It's very, very simple. So this color, say for instance, this color, all right? Look at what I basically did. I looked at this color, all right? And then I say what? I put an overlay. Okay? And I increase the overlay to say 30, okay? Now, what did I just do? I basically did something like this. I took a box, guys, just look at this. I created a box, okay? I duplicated the box. Usually about 6 boxes are fine. Actually, 5 is okay, okay? I select the picture, I select one of the box, okay? And then I clicked on this, and then I begin to choose my color. I begin to choose the color from the picture. In fact, not even thinking too much. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Can you believe how simple it is? How super simple it is to design. It is just knowing how to approach it. And when I come here, and then I want to apply the color, guys, look at this. I can choose any of this. Look at that. And when I have chosen the color, I just remove this. Look at that. Choosing the color. This is one approach. Let the picture tell you. This is another approach. I can use, there are so many tools out there that gives you choices of colors. Right? How about the font? Josh, you're telling us about the color. How do I know the right font? You need to understand the basics of fonts. There are so many fonts you can choose out there, right? This is one of them. Google Fonts is one of them. With Google Fonts, you can choose a font. Now, how do you decide which font to use? If you want something that is, hello guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yes.
Awesome. So if you want to decide which font to use, in fact, it's already made simple. If it is a business, don't use handwriting. Just use sans serif or serif. Anything business, all right? Okay, so let's look at it. John Smith advocate, right? So John Smith advocate, I use sans serif or serif, okay? And what do? I choose one of these two, because even sometimes you can use display because displays are legit, all right? So you look for the one you like. You can increase the thickness to see, right? Look at that. Oh, I like this one. This looks much more, look at this one. It looks much more solid. Okay, so should I use it? Let me go read about it. What does it say? It says it says play fair is a transitional design, European Enlightenment, blah, 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 replaced by whatever. So it says it's the design itself to this period. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to read. So basically, you can read about it, and you can read also. Sometimes the person who developed the font can actually tell you how to use it, right? So, for instance, this Playfair. This is Playfair, all right? Let me use it on one of our projects. Let me use the Playfair here. Okay, so Playfair. Look at that. You see the design? Now, how can I decide which one to use here? Let me see. Let me go back. So pairing, it tells me you can pair it with Roboto. Oh, okay. So if I put Playfair here, okay, so I can put Roboto in the bottom. It's already Roboto. So you see, I've even paired it with the right one. And that's how you see this design. So we've touched on how you can select a color. We've talked on how you can select the right font. So basically, if you understand typographies, which is super, super easy. If it's children, you need something very playful. If you want something very playful, there are fonts you can use, certainly not sans serif. Maybe sans serif because it doesn't have sharp edges, this sharp edge. All right, if it has a sharp edge, that's a sans. If it doesn't have the edge, it's sans. No, sorry. If it has the edge, it's serif. If it doesn't, then it's sans serif because sans in French means without, right? And where do you use it? If you have like a corporate building here and then you use a playful font, it doesn't pass the message across, right? So guys, this is like the fundamentals of programming, choosing the right language, and all of the basic questions. I decided to make this section to touch on all of the, what concerns people, right? Rather than going into coding. So the idea is to allow you to think for yourself and decide which language should I learn? Where should I focus on? Is this kind of training the right thing for me? Do I really feel myself like this is what I can do? Right? So all of these questions, the idea is to help you to see, the overall picture and then decide for yourself where to focus on. I have had trainings where I start with the person, I went all the way to JavaScript, and the person said to me, I think I feel myself that I would learn machine learning. Okay, I'm like, yeah, sure. So it felt like a waste of time, but then, yeah, it's a normal thing, right? So, and the person can actually start machine learning and in the end discover that it's taken a long time to even get a job. And then the person may decide and say, I think I'll go back to the web because it's easier to get a job in the web, right? Although the competition is high. So what do I need to learn? I need to learn other things, okay? So I hope this session has been helpful to you guys, and I hope you have been able to pick one or two things from the conversation that is going to be helpful in the long run. Okay, so I think we can call it a day so we can have this recording short for anyone who is looking to get a very quick idea from it.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Josh.
it was very, 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 very enlightening, and it's surely a background to build on. And like you rightly said, it's going to be very important to always have people of like minds. It's just like going to the gym. You could get tired, and if you have friends that will call upon you, and it makes it a lot easier. So I think that would be the jigs and the easiest way to go about it. If you can actually keep a group and stuff like that, so it just keeps the motivation level high. My idea,
Exactly.
though.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually, sums it up. You actually summed it up perfectly. Miss Sekinot, you have something to say? You want to share something?
No, I just want to appreciate the class. the group and everything. You know, I've been running away from this for so long. So I think I'm ready now, and I'm really, really motivated with my new field of work. I mean, where I recently became a trainer, and currently I'm working on.
Congrats.
Oh, sorry, no. So I'm working on robotic programming.
Okay.
So it's really, really motivating. You know, that wasn't the first time I heard about the back end of or the front end thing, but the fact that I get used to the Indians and I get used to some of the coding, you know, me telling them like, please push from back end for me, please do this from back end. So it's really something that I really want to know more and I want to learn. So I think I'm ready. I'm not running away.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, if they're pushing something to you and you're consuming the data in the front, then that's already so. It already gives you an idea of how the whole thing works, right? So in the back end, then you just, if you understand the language that they're using in the back end, then you can already start to maybe do some research about the language, so you can in a way communicate with them. Many developers will even appreciate it a lot when you ask them, you know, like when you say push something, you know, yeah, good, you know. And when you start to begin to understand, you know, like basic stuffs about even the front end that you're using yourself, they will then begin to, you know, like, okay, you will begin to see the encouragement come from them already.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this time.
You're welcome. Not a problem at all. Right?
Thank
So
you,
yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. I will share the recording. I can actually share it in the group. Hopefully it will allow me to do that, so that, yeah, those who want to get some things from it, they can already pick some things from it. All right. Yeah. Again, thank you guys for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you, and I will think of a plan that we can work with, something that is much more flexible for everyone. Otherwise, I can just make it something that I can share. All right.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for your time, and do have an awesome weekend ahead. And yeah. And
okay. Bye.
have a great one. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.